We always have to overcome obstacles. Yesterday we talked about William Ford. We're going to be talking about modeling today and how it kind of fits with all the buzzwords, the customer journey and the lifetime value and all the rest of it. So William here is a PhD, and we exchange messages. Right, I can hear you, but I can't see you. Yes, the slides are taking too much room. Don't panic. For some reason, my camera didn't turn on today. No idea why. We'll figure it out later. But we're live, so we can't slow down. Okay. So less than 50% of Gartner's 200 top companies that they follow felt that they had a transformative or a transformational level of data and analytics. Okay. And the barriers are they couldn't figure out how to get value from the projects. They were trying to figure out what strategy, and they had governance issues. That GDPR thing is bigger and bigger. Although the antidote for the UK is that they're using mail. Email is, verboten, and tracking you all over, and banner ads based on the tracking, verboten. A lot of the, techniques developed in the last decade, which everybody thinks are the future, have been essentially prohibited. But mail, they have a compelling interest, it's called, and they can mail. So anyway, Williams' 3 points: success can be a journey, all models are wrong, etc. So a lot of work is involved in getting a model ready. This one I liked a lot. George Box, I'm going to look this up, Science and Statistics, said, since all models are wrong, the scientist cannot obtain a correct one by excessive elaboration. And, there's something to that, because the old 80-20 applies in variables, and when you do a logistic regression or a linear regression, no matter what or whatever technique, no matter what technique you use, you end up with the powerful variables will float to the top. And getting more nuanced often doesn't do you any good. And we're going to be talking about the difference between a real model in the real world versus a back test and just a hypothetical that looks great on paper, but when you put it into the real world, it doesn't work. William actually said, I asked him about deployment a little bit, chatting back and forth, and he said, yes, deployment is a challenging area. Okay, so I think he's right here, though. He says, if the process of model development yielded an opportunity to improve your business, would you take it? And that's kind of the wager here. In all cases, every article I read, the wager is about if there's a way to improve your business, would you do it? And we all know that modeling improves your business, so you should do it. You should do modeling. The problem is, what's the odds of it moving? Okay, teach your company to fish. At its core, predictive analysis does not promise to give the why behind the prediction. Now that's interesting, because in another subsequent article, they were talking about that modeling will tell you the why, and I agree with William. Okay, I just wanted to show you on my recent search on modeling and predictive analytics, all the different articles. I got a dozen that were published just within the last few months, like the last 2 months. So there's a lot going on in this field. There's a lot of people talking about it, and this wasn't in the dive deep stuff. This is in Forbes. Here's Forbes transitioning. In this one, it suggests that you can know the why behind the models. No, you never get that. You get correlation, not causation. You have to set things up way different. Now you can set it up. You can do field valid experiments, but that's in the power of direct marketing. So anyway, let's say goodbye to William. I like this one especially. I like the picture. So as you look at that picture, what do you see? And I would venture that a guess that 70% of people will say, well, that's like the owner or the CEO or CFO and the new junior marketing person who's got lots of training in new marketing techniques and digital is explaining how digital can revolutionize their business. It's Young Entrepreneur Council is where this article came from. Now, of course, what I see is the old marketing guy telling the new entrepreneur, this is great, but it's not going to move the needle and it's not going to make you money in the short term or the long term. Let's do something proven. And along the way, like William said, along the journey, we're going to find out things about our customers. But in the meantime, we're going to make money with it. That's the goal. Okay? So anyway, you can view that somewhat ambiguous picture any way you like. But that's the way I identified with that. That was funny. So what determines the success of predictive analytics in this article? It says it takes an enterprise-wide effort, participation from all departments, marketing, sales, operations, finance, support, services, plus the back-end office processes like logistics, inventory management, and distribution. And I would contend that's why only a very small percentage of businesses think they have any success, because to get all those people working together, I mean, they're lucky to do their jobs, much less some kind of futuristic payback. When we do models, and this is what I'm going to boil down to. I wish I could get on camera for this because I talk right to your heart. We try to focus the model on, okay, who's bought in the past, who was more profitable in the past, and who do we want to spend money on in the future. It isn't predicting their behavior. We never do that. At best, we try to guess who isn't worth talking to. When I tried to teach modeling to Dick Cabela, I held up a catalog of his and I said, Dick, if you only had one fishing catalog left, who would you give it to? Would you give it to the guy in a blue-collar town who doesn't make a lot of money? Or would you give it to the guy in Upper Manhattan who's a multimillionaire? And he said, right, the Manhattan guy has more money, but I'd give it to the blue-collar guy because the chances of him loving fishing are much higher. And I said, Dick, that's what I'm doing. That's all I'm doing. And he said, yep, that's what fishermen are like. And Dick Cabela got it faster than just about any other client I've ever had. Okay, so how can predictive analytics hone your marketing efforts? Marketing mix modeling. We're going to do attribution by back end. Oh, heaven help us. Customer profiles. Yes, I've had a lot of people ask about customer profiles. I have an excellent video back a few weeks on customer profiles, the customer journey, and why it's an interesting but almost impossible exercise. Customer acquisition, yeah, you can do some modeling, but again, what we do is we rule out areas. I worked with the Highlander, if you remember that TV show, and they basically did one commercial on the show when it was running, and we get more calls than we could take. And so we said, well, what we'll do is we'll build a zip model for your current customers and, see where the best areas of the country are. It was income and education, actually, not in that order. And we'll apply that to area codes. And so we'll look at the incoming area codes. And if they're from an area of low education, low income, we just won't take those calls right away. We'll take the other calls first. So there's some things you can do, but that's not the first thing you do. Customer retention is probably the first one. But, I love this. Easily find out which customers are likely to leave and why. Upsell, Crosssell. Another article mentioned Netflix. Their algorithm, they spent millions. They actually had $1 million contest trying to improve their cross-sell, upsell. Amazon for years didn't even have an algorithm. Didn't worry about it. They said, if you remember what Amazon says on their little blurb, it says, people who bought this book also bought. And that's all it was. It was a record of the first 5 items someone bought along with that book. No algorithm involved, which is another great principle. Don't assume you have to have a big data and big models to make something pay off. I'm John Miglosh. Happy New Year. WDMA and the International Society